Day 3 of my rutcation started just like the others before it. The alarm went off in the dark. I sat up, half delirious, looked at my sweet hair, wondered if the disheveled mess on my head was an indicator of the week's potential for success. Made coffee, warmed a Pop-Tart. I sat and pondered the day's potential. Although I'd had a very frustrating day yesterday, I had a new optimism associated with finding this convergence of two ridges that also held an oat flat on the public land adjoining my property. It was an obvious funnel and a source of food all in one place. So I dressed and planted myself for the morning's hunt. It was a gorgeous morning. The sunrise was once again worth the early rising. To top it all off, I had my first real opportunity of the week to harvest a nice buck, sitting on that oak flat, watching that ridge top. I stress the term opportunity. Well, it's mid-morning day 3, and boy, would I like to have this one back. Went out onto public land and sat on a ridge top that kind of runs into my property that it seems like a lot of deer are traveling into and through to get here. So I picked a good spot on the ground next to a trail. Figure everything's going to work out well. It does. A decent little 6-point comes through. So it's like hand you one, okay? So he comes in at 15 yards, turns kind of a little circle in front of me, and was kind of patrolling this ridge line, I guess. He's probably looking for scent. And I had the crosshairs in the right spot, but he would not stop walking. He was walking very slow, just very casually, but I didn't feel right taking the shot while he's walking because there was a good amount of brush there. So, I didn't want to hit something, make a bad shot. Now, when I'm thinking about it, kind of where he turned around and where I had the crosshairs on him, I should have pulled the trigger. It was 15 yards. There was no brush right in that particular spot, and I'd be back here at camp making breakfast, waiting on him to die, and thinking about going and tracking him here in a little bit. Whereas now, I am back at camp, and I'm going to make myself a consolation breakfast in the Dutch oven, and then I'm going to sit around and poke my bottom lip out, have some breakfast, and then maybe go back out and sit in that same spot. The wind is perfect for that spot. It's definitely a travel corridor. That's the only deer I've seen this morning, though. So I don't know if it's supposed to be like 80 degrees later, so I don't know if it's going to be so hot that the deer aren't going to come out into the open like this. So maybe sitting in there will be the better thing to do. But man, oh, and I didn't have my camera on because the battery was almost dead, so I thought I'd save it. So I didn't even get video of that cool interaction where he looked right at me, didn't even phase him. I bleated at him 3 times to get him to stop walking, and his ears didn't even perk up. He was of singular focus, which we understand at times. But man, love to have that one back. Maybe I'm not good enough at deer hunting to have a deer hunting show, so maybe I should just do a cooking show. So I've got my cast iron oiled up, and I'm gonna take some biscuits and place them in the center in an arrangement to where you kind of have a little bowl in the middle. And then we're gonna take eggs and bacon and cheese, make a mixture kind of like an omelet, and throw in the middle of that, and then set that over and under the coals and see if we can't bake ourselves some sort of breakfast casserole that will maybe take away the sting of getting my butt kicked in the woods this morning. That's going to bother me for a while. Dang it. Now I've got my ingredients together, and you may have to trust me here because I've got enough stuff on the table. I am going to crack this egg and put it in a bowl. I think since it's just me, we'll do 2 eggs. And then, like the last time you saw me cook, I have this lovely turkey bacon because I'm trying to do better by myself. And myself, I'm not sure is appreciative, but maybe in the long run. Just going to shred up 2 pieces of that into my egg. Now you may be thinking to yourself, Andy, you must cook this all the time. It must be delicious, or you wouldn't be doing it. I mean, with that physique and all. But no, I've never made this before. I just thought maybe it sounded good. It could be a disaster. And, you know, if my rutcation is any indication, it might very well be. But at least today I had an opportunity and I squandered it. So there's no one there to blame but me. Now I'm just gonna cut some cheese up. And yes, I am looking out into my fields just in case, because like I'm going to be able to do anything about it. I just want to, I guess, know that they're here and that they're moving, trying to do some very late scouting and try to figure out if I'm in the right place or doing the right things or not. I'm going to put some Montreal steak seasoning in there with my eggs and bacon and cheese. When you see me next, we'll be at the fire. Alright, we're going to pour that right into the center. And it's not going to stay in the center. Alright, well, whatever. I'm probably going to have some hot spots, so I may have to turn the lid and the pot a few times in order to make this work, but we'll see what happens. You might be saying to yourself, that's an awful large cast iron Dutch oven for one feller to be making 5 biscuits and 2 eggs and 2 pieces of bacon and a piece of cheese. And you'd be right. But my little one, I think, is in my garage. It's supposed to be in the camper, but it's not here. So, you'll use what you get. Alright, it's time to check and see how things are going. It's starting to smell pretty good. Seems like we need a little more heat on top. Everything's done on the bottom. So, we give that a couple of minutes and we're done. Well, there she is. And like my hunting skills, this breakfast might lack a certain je ne sais quoi, but I'm going to eat it anyway. It's going to be good. Now, anybody who knows me knows I love to cook. And not to brag, but I'm pretty dang good at it. However, sometimes I experiment and things don't always work out. This is one of those times. If I were to do this again, I would use a much smaller pot, place the biscuits together in a manner that they touch, and mix 4 eggs instead of 2. And maybe use real bacon, but whatever. However, it was quite tasty, just, not very appetizing to look at. That afternoon, I returned to the scene of the morning's crime and watched that ridgetop oak flat until dark. That part of the story will be in our next episode. Couple of ill-brained moves and decisions that could have been done faster.